our regular council meeting for today, December the 10th. I will confirm that all the council are here, as well as our clerk. And I'll start this meeting off at 9:35 a.m. First of all, we'll have our territorial land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge that the Township of Allen-McAlderman is located on the Mississaugan Ashaninbenk territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan Ashaninbenk. The Township of Allen-McAlderman respectively acknowledges that the Mississaugan Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and the integrity of for generations to come. Moving on, item 3, and that's the motion to approve the agenda, that the agenda of the regular council meeting held on December 10th, 2024 be approved. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth and seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any discussions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we go on to disclosure of pecuniary interest. Are there anyone that wants to declare a declaration? Deputy Mayor Stover.
Mayor Lobo, I will have a declaration to put forward today, and it has to do with I'm just trying to get the number here. It has to do with the budget that's going to be appearing on the agenda today, and it has to do with the library component of what is being on the docket for today. And the reason being is continuation of the litigation with the library board. Thank you.
What number is that?
I'm just trying to find it, and I'm drawing a blank here. Oh, 13.1.
13.1.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And that's to do with the capital budget. Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to move on to adopt the previous minutes, and we have council meeting minutes of November 12th, special council meeting of November 15th, and municipal planning regular council meeting of November 26, 2024. It is recommended the council of the township of corporation of the township of Allen-McAlderman enact as follows: the minutes of the following meetings to be adopted: November 12, 2024, November 15, 2024, and November 26, 2024. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, there's no business arising from the previous minutes. And we have delegations presentations today. And our first one is from the Lower Trent. And we're happy to have here Rhonda Bateman, who's the CAO of the Lower Trent Conservation Authority. And before we start, I'll just mention that 10 minutes is normally allotted for presentation, plus 5 minutes for questions and answers. I'll just make that a little bit more clear. Sometimes when we have government representatives here, if I ask council and they want to go a little bit longer, we do that. But that's a special privilege if you're a member of the legislative body, I guess. So Rhonda, please go ahead, and welcome, and please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me to speak about the draft budget. As you know, our budget has been out for consultation, and it actually is going to a board vote on Thursday. So I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to present to you today. So I hope you all have your presentations in front. I'm just going to go over quickly the budget subcommittee, some of our budget facts, the highlights of our budget, and the levy in general, and then our next steps. But in that municipal levy part, I've added some statistics for Allen-McAlderman that I didn't add for anybody else, because I know it's important for you guys to understand where you fit in the overall scheme of things. So we did have a budget subcommittee this year. It was made up of our vice chair from Trent Hills, Jean Brahaney, Director Bobby Wright from Brighton, and Jeff Weldon from Brighton as well. And we had an alternate, Eric Sanford from Center Hastings, and it was good because we had to actually make use of the alternate this year. So, and the staff members were myself and our corporate services manager. So we met on August 16th, 23rd, and September 6th and brought a budget to our board at our September board meeting. It initially started with a 22% increase. So the subcommittee decided that we kind of presented to the subcommittee a bicycle, a Toyota Tercel, and a Ford 150, and we decided to go down the middle of the road with the Toyota Tercel type. So after we presented to the board in September, they asked us to find potential savings and revenue in addition to what we had already done, which is great. We did that and we brought the overall down to what it is now. We found some anticipated surplus and increased revenue through interest. So the draft budget at that point at the October meeting was draft for consultation, was allowed for consultation, which is what we're doing now. So as you know, we're a service delivery organization, and yes, 70% of our budget is about staffing and the rest is general operations and capital. We're looking at a consumer price index of 3% this year, and we're looking at the cost of living adjustment again at 3%. So budget facts, everybody has the minimum wage increase to deal with and the new CPP enhancements. So the overall budget, we decided with our capital to decrease our capital spending this year and finance commercial vehicle instead of buying one outright. So our proposed budget is for operations and staffing is at 2.89 million, and with the capital it's 2.988 million. Not much difference. We have not increased our capital levy since we introduced it 4 years ago. It is up for review next year, but that's coming later. And who knows, it might stay the same. I'm not sure. As opposed to revenue sources, they're listed there. You'll notice a decrease in administered programs, and that is due to the drinking water source protection program. The province has put a limit on our overhead that we can charge. And so for those of us we have 5 conservation authorities in our drinking water source protection program, and they are cutting our administration costs drastically. This year, it should be at about $125,000. They cut it to 75. Next year, it'll be 60,000, and the year following, it'll be 50,000. And that's to cover all of our areas. So we are doing our best to make sure that we're trying to work as diligently as possible to carry over as much as possible to the following years to prevent so it's a decrease of revenue basically. So we're trying to accommodate that as best as possible. It's not affecting the budget, the levy that you pay at this point, because drinking water is funded 100% through the province, but it does bring down our overall revenues. So highlights, we've had no change in provincial funding since 2019. And as you know, in 2019, it was cut in half to 68.8 thousand. We've had no change in revenue for planning and permit fees. There's been a freeze placed on us by the government. I talked about the decrease in source protection funding. We have increased, this budget has a 1 FTE increase in conservation lands. And we, as I said before, we identified some surplus funds to bring the to bring the levy down. So the levy is set, the change in funding from last year is $157,666. Sorry. And that includes 67,000 in staffing and wages and benefits for conservation lands stewardship technician. 80% of that would be funded out of Category 1 levy, and 20% of that would come out of our stewardship funds in our Category 3 agreements. So 24,000 is the new CPP requirements, 14,000 is in merits, and $43,000 an increase in the conservation lands budget. The conservation lands budget has been pretty steady for years. In the last few years, they've been overspent by over $60,000 due to maintenance of buildings and vehicles and that sort of thing. So, and that is happening again this year. So we decided we'd put 43,000 in there to prevent it from being in the red for the last couple of years. So, and as I said before, the cost of living and the CPI is at 3%. So then we get to the wonderful apportionment section. So on McCalderman, your apportionment is 10.48% of the levy. And those numbers are garnered from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. So our biggest municipalities in order are Quinte West, Trent Hills, Brighton, and then on McCalderman. And you can see that Center Hastings, Crammy, and Sterling Rawdon are on well below 10%. So although your apportionment is fourth, it does not mean your service levels reflect that. So if you look at the municipal service under general development inquiry numbers, I didn't put this in color, but you guys are usually third or fourth in that. If you look over time, it's normal. You're normally in third place. Municipal services, comparatively, you again are in third place, even ahead of Brighton. And for permit numbers, again, you are receiving about where you should be, sometimes in second, sometimes in third. So, and enforcement, unfortunately, well, last year your enforcement numbers went down, which is a great thing. Up till then, you've been third place for enforcement, enforcement's really difficult because it takes so much staff time, because enforcement sometimes leads to court. And so we have to get search warrants and do all that kind of stuff. So though no one wants to be third or first on enforcement files, but it does take a lot of time. So I wanted to add something that we've done recently. We conducted a special brook trout project this year. We got funding from 3 outside agencies to do that. And we evaluated 20 different fish habitat sites, within the Rice Lake tributaries that were in Alma-Calderman, including Burnley Creek, Barnum House Creek, Shelter Valley. And we spent 18 staff days in Alma-Calderman just on this fish project. So there's things that happen behind the scenes that aren't obvious at times. As you can see from the other handout that was presented, there's a lot of opportunity for residents of Alma-Calderman to participate in all kinds of events. Some of them are further afield. I mean, the ones in Camelford and Brighton would be easier for them to attend in Crammy. We have been trying to work with the library and the Early Ontario centers to bring more of the education and outreach to Alma-Calderman. And the staff have been diligently trying over the summer and up until now. And Councillor Ainsworth just told me that after speaking to the library that there may be a session set up for September or for January. And the school boards, we can give them our information and it's up to them to choose whether to have our education people come in, but we do follow up with them all the time. And at least one of your schools always goes to our Children's Water Festival in the spring. So, I had a couple more slides. So as far as levy goes, and for your current value assessment, which I got from the municipality, which was great. We cost about $11 per $100,000 of assessment. So that's, and I'm using census data from 2021, but population data, it's $20.91 per person or $47 a household to help you see where it lies. As I said, the information we get from the M&R is, it's based on a regulation and it changes the numbers a bit. So our numbers are never the same as yours. So I want to compare apples and apples and tell you what the assessment is compared to what you actually are assessed for from MPAC. So our next steps are, I've done quite a few municipal presentations. The decision of the board is on December 12th. I know there's going to be a lot of discussion. I listened to the last Quinte West meeting and their budget meeting, and I know they want to see a degree of decrease. They're not saying exactly what they want, but that's fine because the board has to make that decision based on the information they have. So that was under 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Lobo. Rhonda, this year's increase is right around 18,000 and change. Does that make sense?
For here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's actually a little bit less than it was last year, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's good. And the other thing I want to comment on too is that if I could, with our Parks and Rec staff, if we could take some of this information and try to work with you guys to set up different events here in Elmwood Coleman for the education part of everything would be great. Even the Legion, we got other places where we could do some things and
Absolutely. We welcome that.
yeah. So I'd like to make sure that we at least get that information out and try to get some things to happen. So we'll bring that up at our Parks and Rec.
Great.
See what we can do.
We can bring that up at the meeting on Thursday as well with the board.
Okay, awesome. Anyways, thank you.
All right, thank you for coming. And I know you've been here in previous years, but I was sitting here and listening and I had one of those aha moments. And I'd already noted when I looked at the presentation that indeed we are receiving quite a few services in terms of the inquiries and enforcement, and that in 2022 we in fact peaked at our enforcement. So there we go. Anyway, but today when I listened to you, I'm like, wait a minute, we're receiving our bill based on our population, but we're receiving our services based on our geography. We are the largest municipality within Northumberland. And when I'm listening to you present, I'm like, that's why you are here so often, just because there's so much geography here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other?
Oh, through you, Mayor Logo. To Rhonda, thank you for coming today. As I sit here and listen to you try to rework things and bring a budget together that is acceptable, it's quite a job you have and you're to be commended for it. Have you looked at past practices that maybe that strategy didn't work? And are you building your reserves enough that you feel will take you into the future to maybe help along the lines of managing this large budget?
Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the things I'm looking at bringing forward to the board is having an operations reserve. So we do have reserves for all kinds of capital projects, but we do not have an operating reserve. So we need to have one to carry us forward for sure. Because if anything, drastic happened, we learned a lot during COVID, let's put it that way. And of course, we saved money then, but we were previous to about 3 years ago, we had really large surpluses. And the reason being that we underestimated our revenue. And so we've adjusted for that. And it's difficult now because of the province putting a kibosh on our increases. If we get those increases that we need, we will be way more self-sufficient and our operating will be covered in-house a lot more. And then we won't have to keep coming back for anything more than, a normal increase.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you.
Greg, do you have any questions, comments? I have two things I'd like to mention. First of all, when you showed all of the different municipalities and their highs and lows, and I noticed there was a couple there that don't seem to have the increases that the other municipalities do. Is there a reason for that?
Increase in service?
Well, I don't know what, no increase in bills or payment.
Oh, they're going up a similar amount. It's a percentage, so that's why it doesn't look like it's as much.
But they are
So,
all going up the same
oh,
percentage?
yeah.
Because everybody else seems to be high and these two stick out as not changing at all.
Your unfortunately, your assessment value is high and it continues to grow.
Okay,
From
so
the
it's
data
based
we
on
get,
assessment value
Yes.
rather than population or anything else like
Yeah,
that.
it's not based on the population. It is based on geography as stated before. It's I use the population to relate it back to the value of your assessment.
Okay. Was maybe not so much in the report, but it's happened several times where we've made applications, people have made applications
Mhm.
and they've been asked to do extra work because of a creek that runs through or something like that.
Yes.
And we found that if we go ourselves and take a look, that creek isn't there. So will you be doing some updating on our maps to show us those changes?
We do yearly updates on our maps and our staff most of the time go out to actually take a look and make sure that it may not seem like a creek and we've had this conversation before, but our staff are really diligent. And now the definition of a creek has changed. So we'll be applying that new definition.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The time to come today and make your presentation.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
And hope that the fog isn't too bad on the way home. Good. Thank you. Okay, our next delegation. Before we do that, I'd like to get a motion approved. And the motion is that the presentation from Rhonda Bateman, CAO, and Lower Trent Conservation Authority regarding the 2025 Lower Trent Conservation Authority budget be received for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We're going to move on to item 7.2, and that's the introduction to the Community Foundation of Campbellford, Seymour, and Northumberland. And today's presentation is coming from Martha Murphy, who is the CEO of the Campbellford Foundation, Community Campbellford Foundation of Seymour and Northumberland. Martha, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, and good evening, sorry, good morning. I appreciate you allowing me to come in. I appreciate you allowing me to come in and present to you some information about the Community Foundation of Campbellford, Seymour, and Northumberland. I'm the CEO of the Community Foundation. And I have been at the Community Foundation since its inception. In fact, I was a board member at the beginning of the creation of the Community Foundation. So I understand that you have the presentation in front of you. So I'm just going to move forward through that. So the Community Foundation was created in 2002 with the sale of the hydro funds from the municipality. So it was Campbellford at the time, Campbellford and Seymour. And when they sold the hydro funds, they asked us to create a community foundation, and then the funds were split between a community fund, which was 3.1 million, and 3.1 went into a municipal fund. So with our community fund, we provide community grants in the community, and we have done over 4.2 million grants since our inception. And with the 3.1 in the municipal fund, we provide funding dollars in the form of a disbursement quota back to the municipality, and they use those funds for whatever purpose they want to. Currently, they're using them for the purpose of recreation. And they just actually opened our rec center in Trent Hills this past week or so. And prior to that, they provided funds to the Hastings Field House. I don't know if you've ever been to the Field House. So that's what they've been using those funds for. And really the purpose is to, improve the quality of life of the residents that live there. That was really the reason we were created. So since our inception, we have provided operating expenses for the past 23 years to operate the Community Foundation. I mentioned the grant amount that we've provided, and our funds as of today sit just over $7 million. So the original 6.2 million that we were entrusted with has grown. We've had donations to that, but also the interest that's been earned on the investment. And I'm just going to go to the next slide. So we do operate with a board of directors. We have 6 board members from the Campbellford Seymour area. And we also have a representative from Northumberland County as well at large. And then also Mayor Crate also serves on our board just for interest purposes as a liaison because of the municipal fund that we have. It's not a voting position, but he does come to our meetings. We operate with standing committees as well. We have a variety of standing committees, the Environmental Committee, Finance Committee. I have to take these off. I apologize. I've had eye surgery 2 weeks ago, and I'm having trouble with my glasses, so can't see with them, can't see without them. So I'm just going to try to go through this. We have a grant review committee, a fund development committee, an environmental stewards committee, and a communications committee. So each of those operate by virtue of volunteers in our community, and they are active at different times of the year. So in 2023, as the original Community Foundation in Northumberland County, we were administering grants for 2 federal government programs. And we, during that process, and that was through COVID, there were COVID grants coming from the federal government through community foundations. We noticed that a lot of the monies for Northumberland County was going outside of Northumberland County. So we said, what can we do about that? And we sought legal advice, and the only answer to that was to expand our geographic boundaries in our letters patent. And we chose to do that, and we chose to change our name. So we were formerly known as the Campbellford Seymour Community Foundation, now known as the Community Foundation of Campbellford Seymour and Northumberland. We aligned our geographic boundaries for Northumberland County. And then we thought what would really be helpful is creating a Northumberland County fund so that we would have a fund available for anyone that wished to donate to that fund so that we could provide grants to the rest of the registered charities and not-for-profits within Northumberland County. So that fund is growing. Our board has actually contributed about $20,000 to that fund, and we are matching that. So we're at about $30,000, and we're hoping to do some grants next year, but we're hoping to build it as we speak. So we also amended our policies, as I mentioned, to include board members from Northumberland County. And then we thought what also would be very helpful for us to get to know the county would be to create a vital signs report. So I believe everyone has a copy of the vital signs report. This is a report that most community foundations have created. We have not created one in the past because there wasn't a lot of data for Campbellford and Seymour. There was only data mostly for the larger centers. So we thought we would create a document which actually measures the health and well-being of the county in the form of education, environmental initiatives, decent work and living income, housing, agriculture and food, poverty, sustainable cities and community vitality. And those are the areas we focused on. So we received the data from Stats Canada through Community Foundations of Canada. And then we took all of that data and we used that to put it in a legible form so that it would be easy to take a peek at. And this document is available on our website, and I would encourage you to go into our website and take a look at the document, because we've also created additional reports that are background reports, and they would have additional data specific to your community. So they, through each of the table of contents items, there are background documents that you can take a look at, and you can drill down into data specifically for Alnwick and Haldimand. So I would encourage you to take a look when you have some time. I'm not doing that, am I? That's just, oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. So in terms of grants and future funds, as I mentioned, we've administered we administered 107,000 in our first federal government funding in 2021, and then we did 322,000 in 2023. They were funds that were provided through the federal government, but it's our understanding, and we know that Community Foundations of Canada, which is our umbrella organization we're a member of, has been working with the provincial government on the Unclaimed Property Act, which they're trying to pass in Ontario. And this act would provide additional funds that would come down through community foundations and be administered in the form of grants. So we want to make sure that we get that full share for Northumberland County. So we're in the process of negotiating that with Community Foundations of Canada. And if that were to take place, unclaimed properties that currently go to the province are about $10 million a year. And there's 49 community foundations in Ontario. So that money we would get is probably going to be around, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000, maybe up to $90,000 annually. And then we would put that into the Northumberland County Fund, because that is a broader fund and would be accessible to all of the charities in Northumberland County. So ultimately our goal, as you can see, is to keep the dollars in Northumberland County that belong here. And so that's why we've done what we've done. So our funds are invested with the Toronto Foundation, and they have been since inception. And they are a community foundation that provides us with a lower investment return, or sorry, a higher investment return, but a lower cost for our investment. They use an average 4.5% absolute return. And they have an outsourced investment manager. So what happens in the case of our disbursement quota is it's mandated by Canada Revenue Agency, and we have to provide a certain percentage of our invested dollars back out into the community, and they've just changed that to 5%. And then it's a 3.5%. So it's an actual formula that we have to go through each year in terms of our disbursement. So in terms of other services that we offer, we have been providing administration to the municipal fund grant program, which I mentioned earlier. And we also have the opportunity to provide that to other organizations. So we currently have an agency fund with for the Northumberland Land Trust. So they have a fund with us that garners donations, and then the disbursement from that fund annually goes back to Northumberland Land Trust, and they use that for part of their administration. We also have permanent endowments and we have flow-through endowments as well. And as I mentioned, we can provide municipal grant program. We can operate those in terms of the administration. So I have provided a request to consider what we have been doing. We've been reaching out to all of the municipalities in Northumberland County, introducing ourselves, providing some copies of our vital signs report, which you can now use. And we're hoping to use the gaps that are acknowledged in these reports for our granting program moving forward. But we're asking if you would, pardon? Yeah, I'm done. Yep. Yep, the request to consider is just a letter of support for the community foundation. So I am done. Yep. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding? Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I've learned so much this morning and have you worked directly with the municipality on the administration? Like, I'm assuming you're talking about Trent Hills in that case?
Yes, and we've also been in discussion with a couple of other municipalities that are interested in us taking a look. They're going to be doing some RFPs for their grant program because they find it a bit of a hassle. And
Certainly.
in their words, it gets a little political. So right now.
Martha, just a reminder, we are on, can you use the microphone, please? Because we are on.
Sorry. So we've actually been reaching out. The Prince Edward County Community Foundation operates the municipal program for their municipalities grants. And we've been looking at their the process that they've gone through and the RFP and the service agreement that they have between them. So that's kind of what we've been working towards in terms of the municipalities that we have been approached by.
Follow-up question?
Yes, so are those infrastructure grants?
So they're the municipal grants. So
Any municipal grant?
yeah, so I understand you because Emily sent me a municipal grant application. Is that correct? You administer those, I would imagine. Yes. So those are the programs that we would be able to manage for a fee for service. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah, I just wanted to get some more specific examples of who you'd work with and on what type of project. So I'm getting it.
Right.
So that.
Okay.
Yes, through you, Mayor. I just kind of wondered what it would cost the township to be part of this.
To be part of the municipal grant piece.
Like just as
So-
part of this, your group here. Is it a donation thing or is it an annual?
Well, we don't have membership
Mhm.
to the community foundation. But what we would encourage would be anyone that you know, or perhaps yourselves, providing donations, to the Northumberland County Fund, which would then, be available for any of the charities either within your, community or any other community in Northumberland County. So does that answer your question?
Yes, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have a membership, like you can't actually join, but we are reaching out because we want to make sure that Northumberland County is serviced properly. And what we have found in the past is that monies have trickled outside of our community and we don't want that to happen again. So.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bringing this to it today. We appreciate it and have a safe trip home as well. You have something? Yes? You have a comment, clerk? Madam Clerk?
Yes, the letter came in late yesterday afternoon, so that's why it wasn't circulated at time of publication. No, that's okay. I can circulate it through our council correspondence piece.
Yes, we did.
Thanks, Martha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. I'll read the resolution then. That the delegation from Martha Murphy, CEO of the Community Foundation of Campbellford Seymour and Northumberland be received for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion is carried. We're going on to number 8, motion to receive community reports. And the first one is from the Ganaraska Regional Conservation Authority minutes of October 17th, 2024. The Northumberland OPP Detachment Board meeting minutes of October 4th. And that's it. So I'll read the resolution that the agenda from 8.2 to 8.3 of the December 10th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be received for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor O'Neill.
Preliminary budget, I was just wondering if that's something we received or if our representative could give us a little bit of update, but it said we were going to be provided with a preliminary budget.
Deputy Mayor Stover, can you respond to that?
Yeah, had I known there would have been a question, I would have been more in depth, but I'll mention to you right now that the budget was passed last month at our meeting the last week in November, and it is a 3% increase. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
So you, Mayor Logo, a couple of questions. So on the Ganaraska one, it's for me, I'd like to know what the Ganaraska does for us. I know we have a small piece of property that they look after off Brook Road North. If that's right. And the increase of 3%, but I guess I just like have a little background, maybe one day of just actually what they do for us.
Okay.
Don't have to happen today, but maybe in the future. My second question is through the OPP report. So I noticed in there that the Snowmobile Club came up for trails in Northumberland County, and I wanted to question that because I know they have an agreement with us and they have an agreement with the county. So I wondered what that was. If
my understanding of that came from the Ontario Federation of Snowmobiles.
Mm-hmm.
And they were asking about the my understanding about Northumberland County trails. So that was sent on to Northumberland County to be looked into. And I can't give you any more information than that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Logo?
Yes.
If I may, this pertains to Councillor Ainsworth's comment or question about Ganaraska. And it might be a good idea to reach out to the CAO of Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority to see if she would like to come down and do a presentation. I'm not sure if that would be warranted, if that would answer a lot of the questions.
Through you, Mayor?
Yes.
That'd be a great idea. Also, coming up to budget would be a good time for them to come.
Okay.
Good idea.
Excuse me, Mayor Logo, I would like to also mention that our budget has passed. It passed last month at for 3%. So
Okay.
this is where we're at with that. Thank
you.
you.
I'd like to come back to your comment, Deputy Mayor, as well as Councillor Ainsworth. And I think we need a resolution passed asking us to bring in the CAO from Ganaraska. And so is that a separate motion? Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. So the motion on the floor is to receive. Anybody have any further questions on that? All in favor? That motion's carried. And then Deputy Mayor, if you'd like to bring that forth.
I think
Counselor
Counselor
Ainsworth.
Ainsworth would like to do that. I'm not sure, though.
Yeah, I
About a
can do that.
motion?
So I would make a motion that we invite the CAO from the Ganderras Conservation Authority come in and do a delegation.
Thank you. We'll just wait to get, let the clerk make sure that we've got everything that you asked for. And can you read back the request or the proposed resolution?
So I have a motion on the motion presented by Councillor Ainsworth that staff be invited to invite the GRCA CAO to present to council.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? That was moved by Councillor Ainsworth and seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any further questions? All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you. So we've got both of them done. Next, we'll move on to the OSIM report that was provided to staff recently and now has been put on the docket for this meeting. So I'll read the resolution, and then if we have any questions or comments for staff, then we can do that then. So it is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen Haldeman enact as follows. The council receive report PW 2024-13 OSIM report 2024 for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Stover, I guess you made the first. So
Through
please
your
go ahead.
Mayor Logo, I would just like to, when I'm looking at this report, it's very thorough, and I think it kind of sets us up with a schedule of where we are with our bridges and our culverts. I'd also like to say too that looking at the value of some of these bridges, and the biggest one, I believe, is the one on Archers Road at a replacement value of over $7 million. That was really eye-opening, and I look forward to the schedule being followed through. Luckily, that doesn't need to be done for a while. And the items that have been put forward that need to be looked after right now, I think it's great to have all this information in front of us. And I'd like to thank everyone involved that put this together for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor O'Neill?
So for some of those are very big numbers, and they're going to be a challenge for the community and for our township. And even if we just look at the numbers for the next 1 to 5 year range, I totaled them up, and that was 2,395,000, which would translate, if we divided that evenly over 5 years, to 479,000 in our yearly budget. So those are big numbers. This is a very serious report, a serious challenge to us, and it certainly was something that came up at the Eastern Ontario conference when I went, because other municipalities. My apologies, but this was definitely something that was coming up at other municipalities, and some of them had numbers that are way bigger. So I'm just going to repeat those numbers because I didn't have my microphone on, my apologies. But the number for the 1 to 5 years is 2,395,000, which would be an expense, if we divided it evenly over the next 5 years, of 479,000 per year. And that's just bridges and culverts. We've got the road system itself on top and beyond that.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill. Anybody else have any? I'll give everybody else a chance first to. Mike, do you have a comment? And then
Yes,
we'll come
Mayor.
back to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. No, again, I'd like to say this is a great report from staff. This is seeing these come through now is actually really nice. And my question would be, for us as council, would this be in the capital budget, or would this be something that we'd be looking at for reserves, knowing that these are coming up?
You want to respond to that? CAO, or I can respond to it. Bridges are normally handled through capital. And I would hope that we'd be able to make application for some funding of it that could be available. But you never know, that's not guaranteed. But I would suggest that would be, and you can only pull out of reserves if you got money in reserve. So
Mhm.
Councilor Booth, you have a comment? Do you want to respond?
After.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Through you, Mayor Logal, and you touched base with it, and I really like the idea of this, the discussions and analysis of options, and the last line, discussions for any available funding for bridge and culvert works to offset costs. So that is part of the discussion, and I look forward to some assistance, but who knows? If you don't ask for money, you don't receive it. So I look forward to asking.
You want to make a comment now, Dave?
Sure. Through your mayor to council, Councilor O'Neill brings up a very good point, and that's where it really hits home is the dollar values. $479,000 on the budget for capital items is no joke, especially when you're looking at that annually for the next 5 years. In conversation with Susan at Public Works, we have spoken briefly about the opportunity for grant funding. And I know that Sue is going to be looking for that where we can find it. So there is definitely going to need to be a plan put in place to deal with it, much like we have with respect to the roads. I believe that you can look forward to seeing some of this information in your budget presentation, your draft budget presentation anyway on Monday.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. Councilor O'Neill?
Sorry, I didn't send this question in, so it's just, as I listen to you, I have this question. When we were at both Good Roads last year and then this year when I went to Eastern Ontario, there were presentations about the need for municipalities to consider reducing the designations on roads to rein in costs. Is that another option that will be being discussed?
Go ahead, CAO.
It's for you, Mayor. So Councilor Neal, that's actually a really, really good question. And something that has been taken into consideration. Our Public Works team has been going through the education just most recently about the needs for road patrol and for proper note taking, tracking of our roads and uses, et cetera. We've also engaged in the conversation with respect to the level of roads that we have versus the amount of traffic that is traveling on the roads for calls for service, call for upgrading, whether we change a gravel road into tar and chip or whether it gets paved. So that has definitely been all part of the conversation. When you approved for Mr. Dave Anderson to come in and do an overall review of our public works, I do know that that is definitely something that is going to be looked at and part of that overall package. So it is really good conversation and definitely part of the conversation.
Good stuff.
I'm going to throw in my 2 cents here for a second,
just do that.
because I'm not sure that everybody, first of all, realizes that the Olson report is legislated by the province to be done. I believe I'm sure it's every 2 years. So this comes out every 2 years, and there's an awful lot to do on it. There certainly is. The one bridge that they're mentioned specifically has been on and I believe that's Bull Road South, Bulls Mill Road South. That bridge has been on the list for several years now, several reports have to be done. And for whatever reason, it hasn't been done. Well, I know why, because we don't have the funds, but I think that we're going to need, as someone has suggested, a report from the staff recommending what can be done, what needs to be done first, etc. The other quick comment I will make, that I noticed that there are a total of 46 bridges and culverts, 36 of them that do require minor maintenance. And that's, if you do that minor maintenance, it's like your car. If you do the minor maintenance, you will get more service out of your facilities. And I think that staff should take a close look at that and come up with a plan to do most of that or do that work, because most of it is not that complicated. It's been done historically by staff. The only one that I don't know if he has enough the proper people in there to do the parging of some of the cement, but other than that, a lot of that could be done. So that's what I would recommend that we be put into as a recommendation on this report as a resolution. But before I suggest that, I'll come back to Deputy Mayor Stover, who had some questions.
Just a couple, through your Mayor Logal, was the date of the last one 2 years ago?
Through your mayor, as the acting department manager, I cannot confirm that one was done 2 years ago.
Thank you. The other, just.
I will comment if I could, Deputy Mayor. I've never seen one from 2002. It might have been done in 2001, and it's just that very close to that cycle. So
Yeah, it would be interesting to know when the last one was done. The other question, I do remember grants have come through, and again, I apologize for not thinking this, and it's just as the information's coming out here today, when we have received money before, so I'm just wondering, I guess it's just part of the discussion, but we have received money for bridges before.
and my recollection, I'm sure you're correct. The two bridges that we did there was one done on Old Shelter Valley Road. And I think that's the one that you're
Oh,
probably
right,
referring
right.
to, because that was done several years ago, in my recollection. And the other one was done on Whitney Road.
Yeah.
And those are the two that I recognize being done. I don't think they were real expensive, but
Thank you.
so anybody else have any comments? Yes, go ahead. Oh, I have one more if I could. I know that this is a problem that's faced by many provinces across Ontario. Pardon me, many municipalities across Ontario. And there are different ways of resolving them. And some have gone to the point where, and I'm just not saying that we should do that, but that they no longer, they take the bridge out. And two roads that come to the bridge and stop. And if you want to turn around, you go back around again, that they just don't continue on. Well,
Oh,
is it wise to do that if you know, if there's no travel that's needed and you can go around, go out of your way in a mile or something like that? I'm not suggesting that we
No.
have any places like that, but should be something that should be taken into consideration, because as Mary Catherine says, there's an awful lot of bridges and culverts, and that'll take an awful lot of money.
just after that comment, I just wonder, through your Mayor Logo, what does that do with fire service and police service to get to where these, if you were to take a bridge or culvert out, I guess would all fall into place when you're going to do that. There would be a process to follow.
Yeah, I
Thank
would
you.
think so. I know that Crammy, for example, had a bridge that they did replace eventually, but I think it was 10 years that they closed it.
Really?
Yes.
Hmm.
I can't remember which road it was, but I do remember that.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've had some, go ahead, Mary Catherine.
It's just a bit of a clarification on the legal. It says maintaining the minimum maintenance standards and levels of service. Do we currently have any that are not at the minimum maintenance standards? Sorry, and I didn't send that question in, so I don't expect an answer today. But as I
Well-
listen to it, yeah, I have that question.
If I can respond to that, I expect that this was done by Jewel Engineering, who are experts in this, and anything that they report is what their recommendations are. So I would say that as long as you follow those recommendations, everything is in good shape.
Good point.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote for, and I'm going to read the original one as well. That council received report PW 2024-13 OSIM report 2024 for information. You got to move in second. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Booth. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. And I think I would recommend that we have staff do a report on what their plans for future bridge and culvert replacement. And we ask that staff to develop a report on that. And I don't know when it's reasonable to do that, but Dave, but it won't be overnight. So if someone would take that. So if someone would make that resolution, I would appreciate it. Mary Catherine?
I'm wondering if they're going to be coming with budget, obviously, and then having listened to your answer to my previous question, I looked at where it says Bulls Mill Road South Culvert has been flagged as the most urgent replacement recommended to occur within the next year. So I think that's our very short-term goal. And as you say, it is written here, so that I'm not sure if we still need at some point next year to a more fulsome report, but currently because of budget, maybe just looking at that one piece as immediate. Does that seem reasonable, Mayor?
Yes. So you'll have to make a motion.
Well, I think it's all, sorry, I think it's already written here, so I'm not sure we need another motion.
Yes. Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Logo, to council. So something like this, number one, we get the report that identifies the needs. And then staff's responsibility is to put together a schedule, absolutely. And something like this is also assets to the township. So it is included in your asset management plan. And you can expect that it'll all be taken care of that way. As far as a bridge construction schedule, at this point, I believe it's something that staff will probably look at in the new year. And then bring back to council as a report for information.
That's what I'm asking for. Do you need it? Do you want to put it in a resolution or not? Okay.
Mayor Logal, if I may, through you, would this as well be information coming through committee of the whole discussions when we're bringing in the people from the roads department? I'm just asking if that would keep us up to date on things. Is that where that information would be coming through?
It could come through that way.
Thank you.
Myself, I prefer a report, but anyways, as long as we get it, as long as we get the information, that's what I'm looking for. And the other thing I would suggest is that for those maintenance of those 36 bridges, that we do ask for a report on what the plan is to get those done, because those should be done as soon as possible in a reasonable amount of time. Go ahead, Mike.
To you, Mayor, I would make that motion for you, but I'd also like to make sure that we allow staff the time to do it.
No question about that.
Like, so it's not. If I think our CAO has pretty much said that he's going to come back with a report. I'm okay with the motion. I just know that we've got a lot going on our plate right now. I just want to make sure that we have time for staff.
I'm not being unreasonable. I think if they have it within a year, then that would be fine. Go ahead, Dave.
So just through your mayor, for clarity to council again, this is a legislated requirement. We have to do this and we have to come back to council with identifying a schedule, and the way that that's done is through a report. So we're online and we're on our way.
Okay. So Mike, did you make a motion or not?
No, I'm not going to.
You're going to.
Okay.
I'm going to retract that because it sounds like it has to be done anyways and looks like it will be looked after.
Okay. Any further discussion? We've already approved it, so we'll move on. Next report is the CAO 2024-2025 2024 capital budget update. And Dave, why don't you make your presentation before we open up for debate?
Thank you, Mayor Logo. To council, I can do this one of two ways. The report was structured so that I wrote it out as a story timeline. I can go through it again, or I can just answer questions as they come. How would you like that, Mayor?
I will leave that up to council. Would you like some more information, or Dave, give us a brief discussion or presentation?
Great presentation.
Go ahead. Okay, Dave.
Okay, so I'll roll through it with you. So capital projects report, this was requested by Councillor O'Neill, I believe back in October. It just took us a little bit to get this together. So we started with the fire department. There was 832, 725, 70 approved in the capital budget. Total of 764, 706, 67 has been spent. That was on a fire pump skids for 15, 795, 45. The UMA 17 rescue boat, which was a replacement for 56, 750, and the pumper rescue truck 695, 930, 83. And 2312.89 was spent on bracketry for various equipment that was being put into service. The reason that amount ended up more is because of some money that was not spent in 2023 and all related to apparatus procurement. Equipment, there was 82,000 approved in the capital budget. Total of 65,257, 67 has been spent for the procurement of auto extrication equipment as previously approved by council in 2022. Again, there was some, that has been an ongoing procurement of the auto extrication equipment. What I would suggest to council, Mayor, is that when I'm at a line item and there is a question, please stop me, because it's a lot easier just to deal with it as we roll through, and it'll be a lot more efficient. Station 1 building upgrades, there was 55,000 approved in the capital budget. 19,546.91 was spent on station upgrades, including a new kitchen and bunker gear racking. 47,82.72 was spent on rehabilitation of the septic system. Originally, there was 25,000 put in for station upgrades and 30,000 for a new septic system. But it was determined by Kelly's Excavating, who was the winner of the bid to replace the septic system, that it was not needed to be replaced, and merely a small fix was all that was required. So that is why that money was not spent. Station 2, there was 25,000 approved in the capital budget for upgrades. Total of 24,543.96 has been spent on a PPE room upgrade and the installation of a new SCBA air compressor. The SCBA air compressor was a huge feat for this fire department, as it never had one and was continually going to Coburg to fill up our air bottles. So between the donation from Cameco and also the company that we were working with, we were able to obtain a newer updated filling station from the town of Huntsville. And that came in at a very, very good savings. So we're very proud of the accomplishments for Station 2. Building department, all 3 line items have not been spent. Obviously, with the changing of staff and changing of direction of the department, it was identified that we did not just frivolously spend that money. So it has been earmarked to be, as in my recommendation further on in the report, to be moved into reserves for that department for 2024 or 5.
Do you have a comment?
Just, has the new CBO had a chance to, say if there's any equipment before that step? I'm assuming he was, but I'm confirming.
Yes, through your mayor, Councillor O'Neill, in conversations with our new CBO, it was determined that it was best to project for 2025, and you can expect to see that in the enhancement papers for council.
Makes
Thank you.
sense.
Answer your question? Perfect. Go ahead.
Planning department. Computer equipment, there was 4,000 in the budget, 1693.29 was spent on a new computer. The remainder remains in the account. Administrative computer equipment, so that's the administrative department. Sorry, that should have been highlighted and bolded, just as the others. There was 155,000 approved in the capital budget for new IT. This is respect to the Northumberland IT agreement. that we went through. 52,816.25 has been spent. I am aware that another approximately 60 was spent with respect to new servers being purchased, which was approved by council. The remainder of that is there to go into 2025. Furniture and equipment, obviously no money.
To you, Mayor. So this IT equipment that we have from the county, do we have any kind of history now that we could say that was the best way to go? Because it just seems that it just keeps.
Through your mayor, with respect to your question, Counselor, I am going to say that I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay.
I'm going to identify what's been spent in the capital budget. And if council wants to enter into a conversation with respect to the IT, that we do that separately.
Okay, thanks.
Through you, Mayor Logo. So with this IT, you have 155,000 approved, 52,816.25 has been spent, as well as another 60,000.
Correct.
Okay, so then
That was for obtaining assets. So that was
Oh.
our equipment.
okay, all right, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. To further with that, I would suggest that that this council reviews the Northumberland County IT agreement and the update that is required by December 31st, 2024. And you will see staff bring that forward to council in the beginning of the new year.
The beginning of the, through you, Mayor Logo, the beginning of the new year?
So
If
the update from county, we're to look at this because this contract was put into place the beginning of 24. And the review is for the end of the fiscal year, which is December 31. So we would bring the review to council in the first quarter of 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you. Furniture and equipment, 20,000. Obviously, we did not spend any with respect to the downtown office. There are a multitude of reasons for that, mostly because of the condition assessment of the building and the future direction as to whether or not that was appropriate to spend the money. Records management, 14,145.75 was approved in the capital budget. I actually do not have any history on what this was approved for or where it was to be spent. And because of that, we did not spend it. With the introduction of Emily to the township and her vast history with respect to archiving and records management portfolio, in discussions with Emily, we did not feel that the money needed to be spent. Rather, there was more cleanup that needed to be done, which Emily has done and has concluded as part of her position with the township.
Thank you.
I'm finding the questions we're getting are kind of, they're not being debated, but they're kind of could be debated. So unless you're asking something specifically with the report, a yes or no answer, then I suggest we not do any talking or asking questions until after report is finished by our CAO.
Just more of a comment. My recollection is that was related to some software improvements, and I know that most of what's been done this year is hardware. So just an observation from my point of view that I think that was there, that council wanted to see some software improvements at some point as well.
Thank you. Go ahead, CAO.
Can I provide a comment back to that? Yep. So we did definitely review the software component and requirement, and we felt that past purchases were redundant. Capital vehicle for Public Works Department, there was 600,000 approved in the capital budget. 18,492.26 was spent on a new snowplow for one of the 1-ton dualies. 11,093.66 was spent on a new sander for the same truck. 568.07 was spent on the foam tank for the power washer. 391,782.84 was spent on a new tandem snowplow truck. That's the truck that was ordered 2 to 3 years ago. $427.39 was spent on new GPS units for various road vehicles. And I can confirm now that all of the road vehicles are GPS, so that in the event of anything that comes our way, we are able to prove where they are, times, locations, speed, etc. 283.44 was spent on a new F-150 road patrol pickup. 29,926.24 was spent on a new sidewalk tractor for Grafton. Total comes to 510,540.90. Centerton Works Yard. There was 20,000 approved in the capital budget. 57,5404 was spent on a new yard sign and new floor grading, which was a health and safety requirement, and a new small pressure washer.
Your report?
No.
No, I'm gonna get
Oh,
back.
sorry, the CAO had asked us to stop him if we had a question about.
No, and I'm
something.
saying no, because you're getting into debate, so please go ahead and then we'll come back after.
Roads projects, there was 950,000 approved in the capital budget. 912,285.56 was spent on various roads upgrading projects. Bylaw department, there was no items in capital. Council computers, there was 3,000 approved in the budget, no monies were spent. Equipment furniture, 10,000 approved in the budget, no monies were spent. The only comment I will say with that is that I do know and am aware more now that there are a couple of council computers, I do believe, that need to be replaced. We can look at that, and that money is in the 2025 budget. And with respect to equipment and furniture, it was unclear as to what council actually would need or needed, so we just did not spend the money. Emergency management, there was no capital items. Water department, miscellaneous water, there was 23,500 approved in the capital budget and no monies were spent. Well replacement number one, well number one, there was $1,431,485.96 approved in the capital budget. By the way, that money did come to the township by way of a grant. So that was not taken out of the coffers. 94,080.45 has been spent on various aspects of the new well project. This project has had some delays and is scheduled to be completed in July 2025. There was 38,000 approved for the pump house roof. No monies had been spent as of the date of this report, but I do know that the roof has been repaired and we're expecting to see that invoice. Library computer equipment, 3,500 approved in capital budget, no monies were spent. Library books, there was 23,900 approved in the capital budget, 20,953.89 was spent on various books. Parks and recreation. Parks and culture capital, there was 15,000 approved, no monies spent. AC capital upgrades, there was 32,000 approved in the capital budget, no monies spent. Arena security upgrades, 1,500 approved, no money spent. Capital equipment, 5,000 approved, no money spent. Parks upgrades, there was 45,000 approved in the capital budget, 3758.09 has been spent on a new park bench and bollards for the Grafton walking path. I had to ask what a bollard was.
Thank you.
So I'll explain it. A bollard is the yellow vertical posts that you see at the entrances to the Grafton walking path. Heritage cemeteries, there were no capital items. Financial overall, there was a total of 535,639.43 not spent on capital items. To date of this report, you will need to back out the 60,000 for the servers that were purchased that I identified as part of my report previously. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, David. I'll read the resolution and you can ask any further questions or start debate. Council received report CAO 2024-25 2024 capital budget update for information. Can I get a move in second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Booth. Deputy Mayor, do you have any questions or comments?
Through you, Mayor Logal, if I may, the road sign for $5,754.04. Could I just ask about the sign? That's a big sign. I'm just wondering about about it would have to be a special sign.
My understanding is the sign that's out here by the roadway.
Okay,
And there was also a sign, a new sign created for the Roads Yard that has now been erected as well.
oh, thank you. And I really appreciate the lean management that has gone into this. Because one of the things that kind of struck me was the amount of money that was being put in for furniture. And I think in the lean management, as long as our desks are together and everything, I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I would like to, thank you through your mayor, I would like to address the furniture situation. And there is no question that furniture in the Grafton office is cobbled together and looks like hell. And there's no question that there's probably need for some upgrade with council chambers. But I'm a stickler for a plan. And I do believe that we need to come back to what is our plan. And I know that staff is addressing that. So I'll just leave that there. But thanks for identifying furniture.
Thank you.
Councillor Booth?
Through your worship, just a comment about the library, the computer equipment, that there was $3,500. Speaking with the library CAO, that money has been spent. The bills are just not in yet.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill?
Two items, Mayor Lovell. The first is one of the items that came up mid-year and isn't on here, but it's related to the Centerton Yard. And brief aside, they didn't just get the signs for that money, they got the pressure washer and something else. So it's not quite as bad as just one sign for that price. Anyway, what came up that's not on here is the sand dome. So
CAO, do you want to respond to that?
I can, yes, through your mayor.
Thank
So
you.
there was no monies budgeted for the sand dome. So that's why I didn't include it on the capital budget report. It is identified in the 2025 draft and you will see it.
yeah, could I just follow slightly so I'm clear in my own mind?
Yes, please go ahead.
When we're looking at the capital budget, so when something comes up mid-year and it's a capital project, it's not then considered part of capital budget. It's like, where does it get considered then?
It's considered, in my opinion, that would have to come to council and we would have to decide whether we can afford it and where we get the money from. If it's come up with something new. That's your question?
Sort of, this was a summary and I had, in my mind, I would think it would be part of the summary. Anyway, I'll go on with my second, and it's really a comment about the ACC. And I think earlier in the meeting, Mayor Logal, you made a reference to the importance of doing maintenance when it's before there's any damage. And certainly when we're looking at a 40-year-old building, and I know as a council, that was one of the buildings we flagged saying it's at the point where it makes sense to invest in that building. So just
I'll make the comment.
There's issues of why it didn't get done, but now is the time to be doing something on that building.
I couldn't agree more. And now that we have the proper staff in place, I'm sure our new facilities manager will take that on as a big, as a challenge and bring it up to where we need to. And there does need to be some work on it. So I agree with you 100%. Other questions or comments on the report? I just have one quick comment. I appreciate you putting this together for us, Dave. I have a lot better feeling of where we are than I did before I saw that 2 weeks ago. So thank you very much. Appreciate all your work and the work of staff, including probably Aaron and whoever else was involved in that. Any further questions? Okay, we've had the move by Deputy Mayor and second by Councillor Booth. All in favor? That motion's carried. Okay, communications. And what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to approve them, receive them all. And then if there's anyone that you want to pull out for special consideration or discussion, I'll go around the table and you can tell me which ones you want to pull out. So first of all, that the addendums 15.2 to 15.14 on the December 10th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be received for information. Can I get a mover and a second? Moved by Councillor Booth, second by Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? That motion's carried. Okay, Councillor Booth, you want to pull any of those?
No, I'm fine.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill,
Yes, I do.
just want to pull them first and then we'll go from there.
Sorry, I wasn't organized to have it that way. Can I go back? to the Original agenda. I do the one on the dealing with encampments, the official plan one.
Can
It
you?
would be better. I'm trying to go back to the beginning and
Okay.
do it
You're
nicely.
gonna have to tell us what numbers.
Here we are. 15.2. 15.4. 15.5.
Okay, I've been suggested by the clerk that it would be better to do it. I'll read off the one. If anybody wants to pull that,
Thank you.
then we'll discuss it right then and there. So we won't be
Yeah.
jumping around. So the first one is Northumberland County Resolution Growth Management amended public feedback. And it was really come from what we heard. Does anybody want to pull that one? Seeing none?
Oh, sorry, I have a question. Actually.
Okay, I don't know if we can be able to answer it or not. This is just a.
Yeah, it's the process. I know that we will be looking at our own official plan, but is there anything that would be wise for us to be discussing prior to that? Because there is reference to two aspects within our township, the changing of the boundaries of the hamlet of Grafton and then Lakeport. Would it be wise for us to, as a council, discuss this and give feedback, or are we beyond that point and we just leave it till our official plan?
My thought on it is that first of all, it should probably be going to the planner rather than being discussed without the planner. And secondly of all, I'm not sure. Doesn't hurt to have a chit chat about it, but I think it's going to have to be brought up specifically. And it really doesn't address whether we're going to do anything with this or not. So what do you want to do? Okay.
Just receive for information, but we'll talk to the planner, and if there is something to do with it, we'll do it then.
Thank you. A resolution 15.4, establishment of Ontario Rural Road Safety Program. Anybody want to discuss that? Here, Catherine?
I'd be willing to make a motion that we support this. Certainly, when we went, Mike and I, to Good Roads, rural road safety was a very.
Let's get a mover in a second.
Oh, sorry, look at our second.
So you've moved it.
I moved.
Yes. Seconder, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Madam O'Neill, go ahead, please.
Certainly. Well, actually, even before we got to us going to Good Roads, when you first went to whichever conference, was it Roma, and you spoke to the minister and we spoke. So this is something that right from the get-go, this council has been wants to do well on the road safety aspect, and that this was going through a process that was already underway last year through Good Roads. And it's nice to see that this process has now led to a motion that we are now asking to do jointly. And also I was shocked to read the disproportionate number of accidents that are on rural roads.
Thank you. Anybody opposed to what Councillor O'Neill has mentioned? All in favor? That motion's carried. And basically what that means, you're going to respond and say, thank you very much. Thank you. Northumberland Chamber of Commerce 2025 Business Achievement Awards. I think that'll be coming up in budget, so we should wait till then. Resolution 15-6, fair share of municipal funding. Want to pull it or leave it as receive and file? Mike?
Through you, Mayor, I think we should pull that one.
Okay. Moved by Mike, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any comments, Mike?
No, I just think that we should be aware of it and just keep track of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything different, Greg?
No.
Councillor Booth? All in favor? Motion's carried. Resolution re-amendments to the Ontario Building Code for affordable housing. Anybody got any comments or we just received? Go ahead, Mayor Catherine.
Again, I don't think we're in a position to proceed with anything now, but there are a number of these circulating. I'm supportive of everything that is in that one, but there's also been ones that are circulating related to the green standards and aligning the provincial and the federal building code on those things.
Yeah, okay, we're
So-
getting off the subject a little bit.
Anyway,
Let's stick with this one. And are you recommending that you want to follow through and support?
No, I think we should forward this to our CBO, which he may already have it, and then make a cohesive motion at that point.
This is Ontario Building Code for affordable housing. 15-7. He's already got that? Okay, we'll forward it to him. How's that?
Yeah, yeah, and I think
I
then
don't
it's
think we
on
need a
our radar,
resolution.
but not acting today.
Okay. 15-8. Resolution of support regarding Municipal Elections Act reform. Mary Catherine,
I'll move that we support that.
seconder, Deputy Mayor. Any further discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried. The next one is 15-9, resuming the property assessment cycle. Everybody okay with receiving that, or you want to take it further? Mary Catherine?
I would like to move that.
Okay, seconder? No seconder, so we'll 15-9, resolution of support regarding the resuming the property assessment cycle. Okay, moved by Councillor O'Neill and seconded by Councillor Booth. Any further discussion? Yes,
Just to note that my support is based on the fact that this has been, again, built up to be brought forward through, I believe it's AMCTO and the Clerks Association. So that's my reason for thinking it's already been well thought through.
thank you.
That's why I support it.
All in favor? Motion's carried. Resolution and correspondence regarding additional provincial support for OPP billing changes. Anybody interested in this one? Councillor Ainsworth, Deputy Mayor Stolberg, comments?
Go ahead. You were.
Through you, Mayor. I'd like to pull 32 and it's the cuts in the OPP funding, which probably, will probably come up in budget time for us. Because out of their budget, they cut $77 million, which is a reflection on what the budget would be for us.
Yeah.
So we should probably be aware of that one.
Okay, I have a little bit more information that I'm willing to
Okay.
share. That come through with the AMO group on the 29th of November. And that was, you're right, that was a $77 million. Since then, we've got a response from the OPP, that the building department, and they're taking $180,000 out of that bill that they had submitted for specifically. So I don't know, that was passed on to the treasurer and CAO and everybody else. And anyways, Aaron, how much is it changes that from one year to the next? Is it going to be a change?
Very small.
Is this working?
No. Another battery. Oh, you're out.
It still did go to an increase. I'm just opening what it was.
If there was an increase, I think it would be minimal.
It is.
It's very minimal. It's about $50,000 now instead of almost 200,000.
Thank you. So do you want to pull it or you're happy with it the way it is?
Just to support.
Well, we'll ask,
Okay.
you've had a chance to comment?
Yeah, I agree, that we support this and send a letter of support in.
Okay. Although it's been answered, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, you have a comment?
Yes, that I feel this has been addressed, so, I mean, you did specifically ask them if they still wanted to send it, even though it had been addressed. So I'm not opposed to it in the sense of that, I just think process-wise, it's been addressed, so just clarifying why I voted the way I did.
Thank you. You don't have to clarify the way you vote. That's a God-given, pardon me, elected official right, and that's what you have to, that's what you're doing. 1511, Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, response to Ministry of Finance 2024.
What's that?
It is that one.
You're good. Thank you. You want to pull that or not? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
Seconder first. We have a seconder. This is for the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, response to the Minister of Finance 2024 Fall Economic Statement. You want to, I need a seconder first.
Sorry, what is your goal of bringing it to the table? Is
Just
there an action? you
Well,
want
we
to
got to
take?
get, well, we can't discuss until we get a seconder.
I'll bring it.
Thank you. Seconder,
Thank you.
Mike, go ahead.
Yes, to you, Mayor. It was just for the increases and the for let me open it up here. Yeah. So small rural municipalities include in the increase of $100 million over the next 2 years for the partnership fund. So it's just, and would be bringing it to $600 million into the Ontario Government Main General Assistance Grant to municipalities. So again, just to being aware of that, if we could have that on our radar for being able to apply for that stuff.
Okay, this is not to apply. This is just in asking whether we support those letters that are already put in or we don't support it. And obviously you
Yes, we
support
should
it.
support it.
Anybody that doesn't support this and would like to make a comment? All in favor? That was carried. Ministry number 1512, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, amendments to the Planning Act, additional residential units. Anybody want to pull this one? Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
To you, Mayor. I would make that motion.
Are you a seconder? No seconder? Motion is not carried and that will not be added on to this, just receive and file. 1513 Northumberland County Resolution of Support Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus Solve the Crisis Campaign. You want to pull it? If so, give the motion. Seeing no interest, we'll move on. Municipality of Port Hope Resolution County Encampment Management Plan. Anybody interested in supporting this? Councillor O'Neill is. Anybody else going to second that? Councillor Ainsworth seconding it. Go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
So this came through the municipality of Port Hope, but we did have an opportunity to learn more about the reasons that they were bringing it forward at the Housing and Homelessness Task Force. So I would like to share a little bit on that. And it was an incident that didn't go as smoothly as people would have hoped. And this is an opportunity to try and improve the communications between the counties and the lower tier. I know that we've not had any difficulties here in Alnwick Haldeman, and I really want to pass along congratulations or thanks to our paramedics and to our bylaw on how professionally and positively and constructively, there's the word I was looking for, how constructively they've worked. But this is just to standardize it and make sure that all of the interactions when we have people living in situations that they probably shouldn't be living in, that it's dealt with very constructively and positively, and that this is something that has support from both the lower tier and upper tier.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mike?
Through you, Mayor. No, I could reiterate, but I would like to see a better plan. And it looks like that's maybe what the mayor is asking for.
Okay. I tend to agree with you. It's kind of,
Yeah.
there is, it sounds nice to do and everything else, but there's not too much detail in it. But I'm willing to support if you want to make pull it, then for further discussion, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Well, we got to move in a second. Or anybody further comments?
Just through you to Councillor Ainsworth. That is exactly what this is asking for, is to make that a more structured plan, to make sure that all of the interactions are dealt with constructively.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of responding to this? Motion is carried. Thank you. We're going to move on to bylaws, but there are no bylaws today, I don't believe. And announcements of notice of motions, and then we're going into closed session items. So we'll need to go into closed, and we'll be setting that up. Staff will be setting that up, and we'll be taking virtual people on virtually or not attending, but attending by email, or pardon me, not email, by Zoom or whatever. They'll be coming off until we finish the closed, and then we'll come back to open it before we leave today's meeting. So I'll read the motion. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman enact as follows: that the regular council meeting of December 10th, 2024 move into a closed session under Municipal Act Section 239 2B regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion is carried.